Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LZ Productions. You are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Chasing Dallas. This is season 6, reunion part 2. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe. Leave your comments below. Now let's get into it. Okay, so some stuff been going on. A lot more interruptions. And a lot of things finally kind of calmed down in the situation of how we left off when we saw Mother very heated. Mother was in the bathroom and Ondario was calming him down. Ondario was like, look, just some things are going to be brought up for the cameras, just to get under your skin. Just like I'm going to say something that I don't know if Mother really gets as of yet, but yeah, it's just to get under your skin. But anyways, we're back on the floor. Mother's getting herself together. Kelly was like, you know, I didn't know all this was going to go down. Like people getting up in my face and all that. It wasn't all that serious. Da 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 da. They start talking about Lester as his name, the mother's name. Kelly said, you know, I didn't say his name, but today, or maybe even before that, there was this big laugh at that point. Markel asks, you know, what's the difference than you wanting to be called Kelly and Mother wanting to be called Mother? And why can't you say Mother? Kelly said it's not a big deal about me not saying it's not an issue. But that was an issue, Kelly. You said that you have one mother and that's the only one person that you're going to call Mother. That's what you said on the show. That is an issue for you, and you said, look, I'm not going to call you Mother, as you said on this episode of part 2 of this reunion. You're just going to address Mother as friend. Hey, friend, da 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 da. That's cool. And she said this whole situation wasn't that serious. When Mother made it an issue, Kelly carried the situation because, you know, I'm messy like that. So that's how it even got to the point where Kelly was saying that I was going to check for his birth certificate and all that good stuff. Now, the only way I can just kind of break all this stuff down, do I actually think that Kelly was going to look up his birth certificate information? No. Does Mother have a right to be defensive and on edge because you did say that? Yes. Why? You're new. Kelly, you don't know Mother. Mother don't know Kelly. So, it's safe to say that nobody's going to put anything past anyone on this cast if you don't know them. So we don't know how much in the gutter you're going to go. And again, do I believe that you were going to do it, Kelly? No. It would have been great during this whole time of the reunion saying, look, yes, I did what I did for those 2 episodes. No, I would never bring it to the height of even what I did say I was going to do. I was never going to check his stuff. Now, how would I know how to do that? We don't know what you know, Kelly. We hardly know you. Barely know you. We don't know that, but it would have been good to just clean that up and not be defensive about that. Because again, Mother does have a right to feel how she feels about it. Do I think I would have had, I'm not saying your blood pressure's up, but I'm just saying it. Would I would have had my blood pressure up for it? No. But you thought that you had to play dirty on last week's episode, thinking that you had to bring up that Kelly used to trick too. So it's just like, okay. And then Kelly was like, she has a problem with Jeff. Because Jeff didn't speak up and say, you know, I brought his name to the front. And then Jeff was like, we haven't even gotten to that part yet. We haven't gotten there. But she said, well, that's where we're at. Da, 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 da. Is that the part where they said, well, let's get there? I think that was the part. I don't know. No, it's something else because, yeah, we're getting there. Mother, did you really see Chloe's swingers? Oh, I don't know if this is bad for YouTube or not, so that's why I'm not saying it. So, because we were very confused because in one sense you're saying this, and in the next sense you thought in your mind you seen it. Mother says, yes, I did see them, but I thought it was a key, and I took it as a key. Oh, then I'm so confused at the issue that was had. First, she was mad that somebody actually brought it up, even though you could bring up stuff. Anyways, Chloe, do you regret making the Gremlin shirt? No. Because it's like, Chloe said, you know, F you in regard to this whole situation. But, you know, Mother's still Mother, you know, we cool or whatever, but no, that wasn't right. Especially when you couldn't own up to it. So, I don't know if Mother seen it or not. It still seems like Mother did not see her. Then we get on the whole Rachel versus Chloe thing. because it's all been news of who actually won this fight. How I seen Chloe move this season, I would have definitely thought that Chloe was the one that won. But she's been telling people that I didn't get whooped and all da 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 da. So they finally go through what actually happened. Rachel wasn't saying nothing at all. Chloe describes the day that she wanted to go and touch Rachel. Somehow somebody gave her the code, her gate code, to get into, I guess, her community or whatever, wherever Rachel lives at. Rachel tried to say that she was just sitting there, I think getting up from a nap or whatever. I think that was in the last episode. But that wasn't the case. Chloe came in, you were sitting down, and then whatever was said, da, 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 she was confronting you about that, you stood up, and she was talking about something about there is a problem, blah, 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 and Chloe went on and bopped her. So Rachel feels like it was an altercation and not a fight, because basically Rachel wasn't able to get a swing in, and that's why she's calling it an altercation. They thought, well, they underestimated Chloe and didn't think that Chloe was going to fight, and Chloe wore her out, even though she said she didn't get whooped. Oh, let's see what. And then Lamont all of a sudden becomes active. It starts talking, because they were asking, how are things between these two, and they both said, we're okay, we had our talk. And then Lamont saying that this is a fake ass relationship, a friendship, y'all fake as hell, da 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 da. And they were like, what are you talking about? And then Chloe wanted to get into the stuff that Lamont got going on about lying on his eggplant. But Marco said, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We'll get there. So Kelly went and changed her outfit. She said, look, I needed to get comfortable. Nobody's going to stand up over me. I was told that this is not going to happen, and it did happen, blah, 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 blah. Basically, she's ready for whatever. They get into the race wars. Y'all have heard me all season at how I felt like things have gone. And overall, I'm going to say this right up front. It seems like, for whatever reason, black people think that they can be the most offended. And no other race has to be offended by anything. And it's how people even carry themselves. During this reunion, just basically doubles down on what I said. It confirms what I said. Donnie said it was a bad joke of what he said. He has a dark sense of humor. We went back to that. Even though you went down your whole childhood and said you were in therapy. How is therapy, Donnie? I wish that was a question that was asked. How is therapy going for you if you're still in therapy? But you just chucked it down to it being a joke. Then it cut into the fight that Zesty and Donnie had, which wasn't a fight. It was supposed to be, but a boxing match. So then Donnie all of a sudden tells Jet, why were you telling Zesty to get that itch? And Jet was like, that's my friend. Of course I'm cheering him on during a boxing match. You're telling him to get me, but you never got me. So basically, to me, he was just challenging him to a fight or something. Like, sit down. It's weird to me, because it's like now, since Donnie's seeing other people stand up, it's now time to stand up. And I also say that about Lamont. Like, why are you standing up? There was no reason. Y'all fake friends. Because we're not really that invested in the whole Chloe and Rachel thing. We just want clarification on what happened. Because there's too much chatter going on. And I think that Rachel, you don't know how to tell the truth. That's my conclusion. And I'll have a better explanation by the end of this, me talking about this reunion. Because it's just like, what? Yeah, so Donnie, that was uncalled for. You act like you really wound up on them, because you act like nobody can tell somebody to get you, because he don't want to fight you. Who cares? It seems like you get into a lot of fights, and you start a lot of them, and you get your tail whooped. Some people would call that heart, and I just think, in my opinion, it's stupid. Zesty, do you really forgive Donnie for his apology? And Zesty was like, well, he really seemed remorseful and da-da-da-da-da. And I really don't have no choice but to accept it, It's like, what was there to do? You couldn't just say, keep up the beat in that regards. The whole Three Amigos comments that have been said over the season, people not recalling what they said, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. What I saw Mother do about the whole Three Amigos thing is try to turn it and flip it about what Rio did. About Mexicans being ninjas too. Instead of owning your part. Yes, we did get to that part, but there's a lot of pride there, and as I keep saying, the black folks think that they are the only ones that can be offended and the only ones that can really scream and shout about being discriminated against. I don't like that. I don't like that, but y'all can say what y'all want. That's not cool. That's not cool. I'm sorry. I'm not down for it. And you can say that I'm not really for my people. Yes, I am. I love my people, and I also can be fair, and I can call them out too. That's what you should be doing. Pride grips itself on the black race. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, and that's why we stay in this cycle. You could just say that the white man is oppressing you. No, you can break free. You can break free, but I'm enough on that, you know. But I was just hearing that come out of Mother's mouth. I was like, here we go. Because you're too busy trying to, nobody say, you see, they did it with Rio, trying to say that he was trying to put levels upon racism or discrimination. You can say whichever one. But Mother, you just did that. And you try to do that as a deflecting mechanism to get the heat off of you. That's not cool. And it's just like, own your stuff. You owned it, but it still took you several minutes to own it because you thought that you needed to fight up against what you said. I'm sorry, but Rio, you were the realest one up there in regards to taking accountability for this ish. Rio sat there and said, hey, I'm used to saying this. I grew up around people and my family, we say it and all that. I have even a black friend. Now, some people would say, look, don't be bringing it in because, you know, white people say that too. I have black friends, so you can still be racist. So he said, look, I wished, I'm not excusing what I did or whatever. I wish some people would have told me, like, look, it's best to not put this out into the world or whatever. If it's still kitchen table talk amongst us, cool, but don't be doing this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Out here, I think I would be in a better position. You know, I'm judged, I take accountability for it and da-da-da-da-da. Mother stepping in, at least with Lamont. Did you hold your friend accountable? He said, yes. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. We knew by the time we saw that Rio had apologized, I guess, publicly at least 2 other times. And since Lamont publicly wasn't getting into his ish, I guess that means that you weren't holding him accountable. But what day did you hold Donnie accountable? Now, you did say something on episode 2, I guess. Oh, we ain't gonna go that far as politics. I don't know if you told him that it was wrong or not, Donnie, because you took up for him for the rest of the season in order to start this crap between Jet, Zesty, and Rio. Which you were the one, as they said, put gas on what Donnie actually said. The Mother said, I said it and took it back and took it how I took it based on how I learned things in social studies. And that's what you really meant, though, Donnie. I don't care what you say. It's just because you didn't say deportation, that's what you meant. You could sit up here and lie and all this stuff. No, that's what you meant. Yeah, so Zesty was like, y'all really got us effed up for this whole Three Amigos stuff. And then he's going to say, you know, I get it. Why y'all said it? Because I'm pressured. And then he gets up and stands up and was saying, y'all got all this work done and still look a mess. Flop. Flop. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China, Zesty? That was your time to call out microaggressions. That was your time to say how people are saying problematic things. So they got apologies out of Mother, well, first out of Donnie. Because he said something like, Donnie said something. I don't know how to say this delicately. Donnie is very gullible, and he's not a leader. And he will go with the flow. He says, I was just repeating what other people were saying about the whole Three Amigos thing. You don't have your own mind, but you do know that Mexicans can't be called ninjas also. You were able to stand up when you knew that you could throw the heat back on someone else that has been calling you out concerning you being problematic to them. So that just, too much is confirming, and something else is going to confirm it too, that there is an alliance between Mother and Donnie, and there's an alliance between Mother and Chloe and Donnie. It's evident, but for some reason, it's just on those three gentlemen over there. Nah. Yeah, so I think I already said this, my mother said so. So ninjas are Mexicans isn't a racist to you, Lamont? Because it seemed like Lamont was done playing it. Whatever, blah, 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 blah. Rio and Zesty, they did say that they feel like that we are all the same. We're all treated as the other. We are others, I'll say this much, Zesty and Rio, but there's still a hierarchy in this whole situation. Because what I know this as an experience, people of color aren't the same as black people. And how we're socialized, black people at the bottom. I can say that much. And I'm still defending y'all because I still know how to be fair and I know what's right and what's wrong. But the truth is, we're down here and y'all may not be up there, but y'all are just less, let's see, you're an upgrade from where we have to be at. From socialization, which is from a white male patriarchy. That's just how it is. In many cases, I could just bring up an example. When the whole thing went down with the coronavirus, and people were saying a lot of hateful things towards Asians because the disease came from there. We were there to stand with them. And then when it was time to stand for us, silent. That happens a lot. But anyways, off my soapbox. Jayla just said, look, I think all this stuff was more of a teachable moment type deal. Again, Rio stood there. He stood there calm. He didn't try to defend himself. He says where he was coming from, where he got it from, why he said it, and didn't know it was an issue. However, he knows he's not supposed to say that anymore, and he's not going to be saying that, at least out in the public. He may just say it amongst his people. Cool. We don't need to hear it. I can't change what you do behind my back. As far as I still want you to be integral, but I can't do what you do. I can't respond to something you do behind closed doors. Hopefully it's still integral enough that it doesn't, that you're not living, that you are not living inauthentically. That's all I gotta say. So I give props to you. The others still had excuses. The others still had pride up, and pride had to be broken down to even get an apology for the things that they were doing towards you guys. You, as far as at least representations of your heritage and your race and culture. So, yeah. So big props to you, Rio. Yeah, but J-Lo said, I think that, Jayla said, this is all a teachable moment. We all say effed up-ish, and I think we just needed to talk. And they discussed like this was a real divide within the group. If we had actually sat down and talked about stuff, it could have gotten better. I agree. Marco brought up, you said to Zesty, you say that you forgive him and that you're cool, but there was still some shady stuff that you were saying behind his back after Donnie's apology. He said no, but he was still calling him a crackhead and all that stuff. Zesty said, look, after he sat down with me and he discussed the stuff that about his upbringing, we are really similar, and I can't really go on and keep on saying that he's a crackhead. And I apologize for doing that. Yeah, we already talked about Mother making it bigger than what it was. She admitted to it and apologized, and for something else. What did she apologize for? It was for something else, but I forgot. Jet versus Donnie again. Because Jet was like, okay, so everybody's getting these apologies. And speaking specifically to Donnie, okay, so you're apologizing to them and they put hands on you and stuff, but that didn't even go that far, but you haven't apologized to me yet about anything. And Donnie said, look, I apologize for the BBC thing and the other stuff that I said. So this is what I'm going to say, and it's the truth. I apologize for rage baiting the office and the cast to come up against you. That's what you did, Donnie. Whether you understood it or not, which I just don't think that you were that clueless as you, where it may seem to be. You rage baited. You knew to talk about BBC and pandering to the black audience and all that. You knew how people are going to react. And from what I was seeing in those comments during the lives or the airings, the audience responded exactly like that, because it's a predominantly black audience show. So of course they're going to immediately run to the black side, even if the black side is wrong. I'm not doing that. If I see something wrong, I'm gonna call it out. I'm not doing that. You did that and it was wrong. Kelly, do you have a hard time holding your friends accountable as far as with Rio? And Kelly said, let me clear this up. No, after I seen that post, I called him and let him know what was up with that. You can't be doing this, da 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 da. And Rio said that was the only person that really called me to let me know what I was doing was wrong, and I immediately took it down. From a friend telling her and all that stuff. Tedley, what do you think? He says, really all of this is just childish. Basically, that's all you gotta say. There's nothing more. Oh, this is the part. I went ahead of myself. It drew a wedge between all other people, and it didn't need to be that way if we'd actually just sat down, da 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 da. Glenn also brought up a point saying, people didn't really go to the people and ask them how they actually said this and da 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 da. Honestly, it don't matter about the gas that mother said or did it in. Donnie still meant what he said, and it also meant the same thing. Now, I just thought it was weird for you to start all this mess, spreading it around mother, no matter how you said it, and then turn around and try to defend him and make it seem like it's some type of huge plot against Donnie, when Donnie came in here and started all the ish. So until y'all friends or whatever y'all supposed to be, I don't know what it is. If y'all can't hold Donnie accountable, then what's up? Don't sit up here and tell Lamont what he needs to do, or Kelly what she needs to do. Oh, the Zesty, Jet, and Rio thing. Was it really an alliance? Jet, there's a narrative that's been going on for about the 3-4 seasons that you've been here, that you're not a good friend, a fake friend, you're always losing friends, and you stirred the pot and hide your hand. And then Kelly said, all true. Just like, what do you know about me to know that that's all true? Say what's up. How am I hiding my hand? And Kelly says, well, you didn't step up and say anything about you revealed mother's name. And that's why me and mother got a problem now. And mother said, no, we got a problem because you said that you wanted to look up my birth certificate. That's where my problem is. That had nothing to do with Jet. Jet was the one that... The only way that you could have a real problem if somehow Jet was coming to y'all saying that, look, I know what his real name is, and da 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 da, and then you took it upon yourself with the leading of whatever Jet told you to start asking about mother's name. But it could be true because you really wanted to introduce yourself to mother and also find out why she wasn't invited to mother's event. It was at the bowling ring. So Kelly, it seemed like you wanted to latch onto blame Jet this season. You don't have no legitimate reason. Yes, Jet did reveal it. Yes, Jet did it out in the open after telling y'all. Told it to mother's face what his name is. So I don't get that. Unless you have something else to say, but it wasn't said, or at least aired. Ted Lee, do you agree with what the people are saying? And Ted Lee said, oh, absolutely. And then Donnie was like, yeah. Finally, Ted Lee is standing on business. What? So you can finally stop looking like a fool having this imaginary beef with Jet? So Ted Lee said that, and then in the next breath, he's defending Jet. So I'm very confused. He said, we didn't see eye to eye, especially season 4. I mean, this season has been great. We hang out all outside the cameras and all that, and you really got to get to know him, and he's really a cool dude. So where's your examples, Ted Lee? I was confused at that part. I was confused. Jet and Zesty. Is there a way to... Are we talking about that now? I don't know. Oh. Jet says, I don't know how I was a fake friend to you. Blah, 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 blah. I was trying to get you to focus on your lip line. I even gave you the application for you to get on the show. Da, 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 da. Don't worry about Donnie and all this whole situation. Focus on that. Da, 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 da. Then we get into some guy named Xavier. I don't know if he was on the show before. I think that's what I've been hearing. I don't know for sure. But anyways, Jet brought up what Xavier was telling him that Zesty was saying. While Xavier was with Zesty saying something else. Now nobody knows who's saying what's the truth. But basically they were bonding over the fact that they feel like because of their experiences that Jet is a fake ass friend. Xavier is saying that Jet dated his ex. Okay. And or went to the movies. And then that's when Donnie was like, didn't y'all go on a date during season 4? So y'all don't know that Donnie is a fan. Y'all know that Donnie is a fan. Y'all calling him a star and he a fan. Much props to him. He got on the show. And that's all there is to it. But it's just like so much is adding up that nobody's really acknowledging at how he infiltrated the show to get on here. Cool that you on here. But it's just like, y'all don't see it? I see it. And no, Ted Lee said, no. All y'all inserting stuff, y'all have no clue. No, those, whoever is Xavier's ex or whatever, were friends a long time ago. So no. So it looks like the Xavier was the cause of a lot of mess. And whomever that guy they had during the first few episodes was a part of mess. And he was helping to get Donnie on the show. I think, was his name Sean or whatever? Yeah, he was messy. We ain't heard from him. For several episodes. So, yeah. Let's see. Okay. Zesty has a problem with Jet not booking him for his pink party event to be a bartender, and feels like that he's being fake. I was like, well, what did that got to do with anything? Like, did he have to do that? Well, Jet says, I use everyone. I didn't use you at that point, but that don't mean that I'm not being a good friend. But Jet, you did have a problem when Rio didn't invite you as a musical talent for his event. You felt like that if you're being a friend, you should have been invited. I'm just saying. You felt away, and Zesty feels away. Do I feel like Zesty and Jet's problems are deep? No, not at all. It's very surface and shallow. I don't know if they're going to be friends or not. I don't know. But I think that we'll get into that in just a second. Rio, he says how he feels that Jet wasn't being a real friend is when he didn't want to hang out with anyone after events and stuff like that. Like he would say, can we do da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And he would be like, no, you weren't showing up for events. And it seemed like the only time you'll show up is if there was going to be a camera in your face. And she said, no. Well, Jet said no, because I showed up to Mother and Ted Lee's events that weren't filmed at all. So that's not true. So it seems like the only issues from what I'm gathering between Zesty and Rio is that they're not being included on things. Or just somehow thinking that Jet doesn't want to hang around them. I don't know. Somehow, now this was funny. Rio. Peppa Pig. I said, Lord Jesus. Jet says, I'm sorry for calling you Granny Mother, but this is the real grandma on there. I said, Lord, no. Markel asked Jet, is there anybody on the cast that you can call for anything? And he said, yeah, Ted Lee and Mother. Which that's shocking. Zesty talks about, when I had Jet's back all half of the season, it just turned against me. So I kind of feel, just through that admission, that they knew that they needed to back away from Jet because it seemed like they weren't being able to be amongst the group. And Mother said, that's not true. The reason we turned our backs on you, at least with you, Zesty, is that every event you're turning up at. I will say this, in some defense to Zesty. If Zesty hadn't did what he did, these scenes wouldn't have been aired. I'm just saying. I'm not saying everything was right, and it did get to be too much, because it's just like, let somebody else do something at these events. That's all I can say. Because it shouldn't be you, because it's coming off very annoying and all that good stuff. So can things be resolved or salvaged with the friendship? We really didn't get an answer. I still don't see anything that's even deep at all, that they can't resolve it, and to just learn to have each other's backs if you're actually friends and all that good stuff. But we shall see. Jayla, Jet, and Zesty. Because what happened is that Jet said, I've never done anything to you. I always speak highly of you. And then Jayla said, well, there is something that you did say, Jet, about Zesty. You mentioned that Zesty said that that Jayla wanted to have sex. I'm trying to be nice on this stupid YouTube. Wanted to have sex. And Jayla was like, no, I never said that. Da, 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 da. And then Jayla said,
where the hood niggas at? Where's the hood niggas at? I'm looking for the hood niggas. Come on. Come with me.
where the at? That's what she said. I said, okay. Zesty said, you know, I just felt uncomfortable being around you after that because I don't know how to really be a friend, knowing that you're having sexual fantasies and stuff. And he said, Jayla said, I didn't have no fantasies about you. What are you talking about? And then Donnie says, well, he is cute. And then mother gonna tell Donnie to shut the F up. I said, oh. What's going on? And he says to Donnie, you're doing way too much. You're doing way too much kissing of the ass. I said, oh. And then Donnie got up and was saying, nobody's about to muzzle me. Y'all trying to do da 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 da. I'm going to say with the F. And we're like, what? No, I had to back up because I really need to know what even brought on Donnie getting that fit rage. Honestly, as I said before, there was an alliance between Mother, Donnie, and Chloe. Donnie started going rogue and wasn't putting up the same resistance as Mother would do towards those. Do y'all get where I'm going to? Do y'all see what's going on? What she was trying to do towards Rio and Zesty. So anyways, he finally sat down. I could say other things about Donnie, but I'm just not at this moment. All I'm going to say is how you're carrying on, Donnie. It's going to be an interesting season 7 with you. You're a fan favorite because of the manipulations that have been going on this season. Let's see if you are next season. Lamont, we get into this mess. All I can say is Lamont and Rachel, we know. We know. We need to know exactly what went on between those two. First it was a kiss, then it went on to wrestling with each other. And Kelly said, look, I know what I know, but they won't say what needs to be said. So then Kelly starts saying, you know, I know something happened, da 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 da. It was some type of event after Taco Tuesday. While she was there, Kelly said that nothing happened. Kelly left, but she found out that Lamont came back because Lamont had left already and came back. And then something happened. They finally admitted to Rachel sucking off Lamont in his truck. And then Kelly gonna say, talking about you not being classy because you were doing that in the truck. I said, wait a minute now, Kelly. Wait a minute. Everything don't have to be in the bed. All I gotta say is go to a secluded area if you're gonna use vehicles to do what you do. Rachel says that she don't recall Robert Ray saying that Lamont was his ex, or Lamont. Rachel, your credibility is shot because of the stuff that I've seen. Sorry. And I think you knew that. You said you would never, I don't believe it. I don't. Lamont was getting on Mother about Mother not coming to Lamont about the stuff that Rachel was saying. And I don't know what Mother's reply was because so much stuff was going on. Word around town is that Mother was jealous because Mother wanted to be in the room because he wants Lamont. And Mother was like, look, Lamont already know I want to suck his. They asked about what about the girlfriend? You know, you did all this stuff, so how long from the actual Taco Tuesday until present, when did you actually tell your girlfriend what happened? Because Lamont is saying that, oh, the girlfriend knows all this. We know we freaky, that she's freaky, da 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 da. I will say this about open relationships. I don't know how I will actually do with a open relationship, because it's just like, even if I did, it would just have to be, okay, we're going to be discreet about it. And everybody around you got to be discreet about it. Whoever you choose to be with, because it's just like, why are we in a relationship but you're open to everybody, basically? That's the only way. Running your mouth, that's crazy. And I feel like Rachel wanted to be in this group to be the one to say, while y'all fantasizing about it, I got it. And I think that she made the wrong steps to probably to be seen in a certain way within this group amongst the people that are fanning out for Lamont. But we'll get to the question as to how long it took for Lamont to tell his girlfriend about what he did with Rachel. That was it for the reunion. It looks like Jet is still 3-0. Do I think that maybe Jet could do better with those relationships with Rio and Zesty? Sure. If y'all gonna support each other. Do any of them, should any one of them have this loyalty that they got to do all this stuff for each other? No. It would be nice to be acknowledged sometimes when you're doing events and things of that nature. That's my only thing. If there's something more deeper than that, maybe we'll get into that part 3. So far, still Jet is 3-0. All right, I appreciate everyone for coming. Please tell me what you think. I told my honesty and what I feel, what was going on. But again, like this video, subscribe, and until the next one, peace. Peace.